mind. So this video is titled Your Mind is a Vehicle That Your Spirit Inhabits. So your mind is a vehicle that your spirit inhabits. But first, let's get through the properties and the mechanism of how the spirit works. So what is your spirit? Your spirit is your space, your perimeter. So your spirit represents nothingness. So once you became aware, that's you creating a mind for yourself. That's you creating an awareness for yourself. That's you creating a halo for yourself to kind of shield your space and to be aware of the field of reality that you was in, or the location that you was in, vibrating in as a spirit. So when we go back to old Gnostic texts and old religious texts, how they have things that says, let us make man in our image. This first mechanism offspring that concept of let us make man in our image. So what is man? Man is the light, the imagination, the frequency before it starts to vibrate. And once that frequency starts to vibrate, we start to accumulate many thoughts and feelings around that frequency vibration. Now that frequency is a woman, it becomes a woman. So our first externalization is us kind of putting ourselves or lowering ourselves or becoming more dense, because once we was first nothingness, we was above the horizon, and then we gave birth to ourselves, 7th, 8th, and 9th dimension, that offspring, and created the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension, because these two realms of reality works simultaneously. So we're in all of these dimensions vibrating on an instance. So we're all vibrating at once in all of these realms of reality. It's not like, oh, we just hop from this reality to that reality, which it does works like that in some instances, but you have to go through these levels of, you know, carnations and incarnations and reincarnations, where you have to go through these cycles in order to be able to experience these realms of reality on one simultaneous line of reason and train of thought. So when it comes to the mind being a vehicle, so the mind is an awareness that we created. The mind is one of the first vehicles that we created to kind of represent ourselves as nothingness. So the mind isn't the spirit. The mind just tries to mimic the spirits and mirror the spirits to kind of give itself a point of reference for the first time. So this is, you know, our spirit, the point of reference of something for the first time. Then once we created that point of reference for something for the first time, then that's like the accumulation and us just becoming aware and having an awareness and being able to, you know, actually field out that realm of reality, that field of existence. So when it comes to us having a mind, we have many different minds. We have multiple minds, and we have different brains as well. So we get so lost into, you know, scientists and people of NASA thinking we only have one brain, which is this brain. You know, we have different brains, which is categorized into our, you know, this brain, our heart brain, and our sexual brain, which we can call organs. So when we have these organs, all of these organs operate, you know, in a different way when it comes to, you know, our brain. When it comes to utilizing this brain up here, this is how we intellectualize things. This is how we think about things. Then we have our heart brain. This is how we connect to things. This is how we feel about things, and this is how we, you know, deal with our emotional nature. And then we have our sexual organ brain. This is how we kind of ground ourselves. This is how we kind of reproduce in this realm of reality as well. So those are different brains that we can kind of categorize, and that we can kind of, you know, utilize and see how these things play a part in actual reality as well. But let's get into the mind. So when it comes to the mind, we have a mind for ourselves. So we have an awareness. A mind is nothing but an awareness building on itself. So when it comes to us having a mind, we have different minds. We have different chakras and mentalities, and both of these things produces thoughts and feelings, Adams and Eve's claws, to protect our spirit, our nothingness, to kind of represent that space. So we got to look at the spirit like the entity, and the mind like the deity, the substance moving through this space, our spirit that we are being observant of, that we are being aware of. So the mind would be like the stars, the moons, the planets, the chakras, and the wheels and things of those natures that's moving through our space, or, you know, whatever space that we're in as a spirit that we kind of sprung off from to become aware from the first time. That would be your spiritual state of being. So that'd be your entity. That's the entity that's controlling the deity. So whatever spiritual state of being that you are in, that's going to be determining the types of, you know, experiences that you like to experience and that you like to walk through as a stargate or a portal. So if you was just gave birth to yourself, but you didn't go through a lot of, levels of carnation and incarnation, expansion and contraction, then you kind of maybe new to this realm of reality. So you're gonna gravitate towards things that you just left from, that represents familiarity. So let's say that you were in a body, a body, an animal body, and now you have kind of evolved more into a human body. So with you evolving more into a human body, this is gonna be you kind of having to learn and having to gain grips with your emotional intelligence and how you react and respond to the world around you and the environment around you, instead of you just coming from an animal body, not really caring about how others animals think or feel, well, mostly dealing with how other animals feel, just going off of one train of thought and line of reasoning, following one oversoul, one idea, one frequency, and kind of disregarding the emotions because you haven't developed those natures and those to play out those characters yet. So when it comes to you being a human, this is what you're going to be learning. So this is what you're going to be gravitating towards. So these are going to be how your experiences is going to be, affecting you. And when it comes to you having to kind of gain authority over that, this is how you can become a better human and have better relatable qualities in the one, two, and third dimension. So this is you evolving yourself from a fourth dimensional creature into a fifth dimensional creature. So this is it's like you taking on a different you in a different vehicle as a spirit, the observer. You're just hopping into a different vehicle, hopping into a different space, hopping into a different spaceship. So now you are aware of different things, you're aware of different informations, you're aware of different lights, you're aware of different experiences. So let's take this when it comes to us having to become a more sixth dimensional creature, becoming whole in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension. So once we get to that level of existence, this is going to be us taking on that vehicle. But keep in mind that we still have to go through levels of expansion and contraction in order to be able to reach this realm of reality. So once we get there, that's us going to be in that spiritual space, being aware of those types of qualities when it comes to us producing those lights and those mentalities and those chakras and those wheels. So that's going to be us being the actual center star. So we're going to be the actual, we're going to be the actual what's the word? We're going to be the actual fuel. We're going to be the actual mechanism that kind of helps us be able to be aware of both of these two realities. So when it comes to, us being whole and the one, two, and third dimension, we're going to be more atmospherical like. So we're going to be able to take on those bodies. We don't have to kind of keep experiencing the lower vibrational, lower octave side of that wholeness. Which manifested and condensed into the one, two, and third dimension. We're going to be the actual substance of the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, and being able to lead a hand or be the building block or the principle to actually reach that level of awareness for creatures that's still lost into the one, two, and third dimension, that's trying to raise their vibration and raise their awareness. So become whole, having your own thought and having your own feeling, and bringing these two things together, that becomes your creature, your sixth dimensional character, your Lucifer. So once we reach that, that's going to be another vehicle, another mind, another spaceship that our spirit hops in and starts to give a pulse to, life to start to go through those experiences of expansion and contraction, so that we can keep evolving as a spiritual root race. So when it comes to your mind, we got to make sure that we're not getting lost into our mind, because our body is like the likeness of the mind. Our body kind of mimics what the mind does, and our mind tries to mimic our spirit. So keep in mind that our spirit is nothing but our space, and the mind is like the substances and the essence and the mentalities and the chakras and the wheels that's moving through our space, that we're utilizing, that we're being aware of ourselves. And our body play out those natures. Once those natures condense on themselves as adrenaline and blood flow, are the waters above and the waters below interacting with each other in synchronicity, and we start to play out those natures in the one, two, and third dimension. So when it comes to us having our mind, we got to make sure that we are directing our minds into the right spaces and areas and locations in the one, two, and third dimension. So this is understanding your astral realm, understanding your subconscious realm, understanding your subconscious natures, and understanding, your dream realm as well, because this is where, we go to and we dream. We go to this lightest density, the more lighter density, the more expanded density, because this is the more imploded density that we are experiencing in color, the 1, 2, and 3rd dimension, that we can kind of see each other's and have a representation of having an actual physical human body. But once we get to that density, once we get to that realm of reality, which is more lighter, the 4th and the 6th dimension, it plays out more dreamlike. So we can kind of go through dreams, we can kind of walk through walls. Things are more fluid because we're experiencing ourselves, our internal selves, the lightest form of ourselves. Once we became aware, we kind of emitted that emanation and that floated up into the atmosphere and became, the substance that we see as above, and that condensed and became the kind of the material and the formation that we see as below. So we all did this as teamwork makes the dream work. So this gives us the ability to share our atmospheres with each other, because our atmospheres is colliding, and this is what kind of created the mechanism of us being able to experience this stimuli as a spiritual root race, because we're all doing this and we're all sharing this existence. So when it comes to us being aware of these energies, we have to kind of learn how to evolve these energies so we can reach better spaces and better atmospheres for ourselves. So once we're able to kind of evolve out of this world and out of this stimuli, we can go somewhere and create a whole new carnation, incarnation, and reincarnation cycle for ourselves. But it don't have to play out such as low vibrational or such as so much into density. It can play out more as a more higher vibration, a more lighter atmosphere, like you start to create bodies and minds and mentalities there that our spirit inhabits. But first we have to go through this spiritual inclination, we have to go through this spiritual expansion and kind of sacrifice the demi urges into this human experience, because these things are the same things that's going to keep us limited and are going to be the same things that's going to keep us stagnant and in complacent energies, especially when it comes to people, places, and things that's still lost into indoctrinations and still clinging on to religions for the sake of needing a mental crutch. So when it comes to, our mind being a vehicle that we inhabit, that our spirit inhabits, but our spirit isn't the mind. So we got to keep that in mind. Our spirit is our space, our parameter, our point of reference for the first time, and the mind is the substance that tries to mimic that space to create Adams and Eves and cloths, so we won't feel so naked, so we can kind of sustain ourselves through this, astral travel as a spiritual root race. But we're all here trying to evolve and become angelic beings. But yeah, it's been Eli 360. Hope you enjoyed this video. Peace.